Hey everyone, Scott from the Livewire in Australia here. I'm really excited today to be having a quick chat with Greg Puciato. Greg has just released his debut solo album, Child Soldier, Creator of God, and he's part of Kill or Be Killed, whose new album, Reluctant Hero, drops on the 20th of November from Nuclear Blast Records. You may also know Greg from his lead vocal duties in the Dillinger Escape Plan and the Black Queen. Greg, thanks so much for your time with us here today.
Thank you, brother. Good to talk to you.
Awesome. So between Child Soldier and Reluctant Hero, you've obviously had a lot going on over the past year or so, which means that a lot of the work that you would have had been doing would have been happening against the backdrop of COVID.
hmm
Did any of the sort of angst, fear, boredom from lockdown, or just the COVID situation in general make it into any of these new albums as far as you're aware, consciously or subconsciously?
No, these were done before COVID happened. So these were both I finished both of these pretty much right before, like literally right before, like the week before COVID hit. These records were done tracking, and then they were mixed as COVID was happening. So they were mixed during like April and May or like mid-March to like the end of May. They sort of were mixed simultaneously, but all the writing and the tracking happened before COVID hit. So, the last 6 or 7 months for me have just been like set up and getting the albums ready. And, there's shit tons of work to do for each of them behind the scenes because I'm involved in every single aspect. Thing moves without me micromanaging it because that's just how I am. So like every single thing for both releases, especially mine, because Federal Prisoners, we every single fucking facet of it is something I have something to do with too. So everything is it's just been a ton of work. I don't think that I would have. I'm not like, yeah. I don't. I don't feel that like the last 6 or 7 months has been. It hasn't been that easy for people to be creative in. Like I think people think that just because you have time to not tour or time to not do other things that you're automatically going to be creative. But I think that the situation for people has been so dire that I haven't felt super creative anyway. I mean, it might be because I just finished two records, so maybe I have nothing to say. But no, none of the COVID stuff really affected the records at all.
Okay, cool. And what about in the actual, so you said all the behind the scenes work after the fact. Did COVID make that any more difficult, or did you have to pivot to address any of that sort of stuff?
It makes there's like a bunch of little shipping hiccups that are a pain in the ass because of COVID now. So like record pressings are a little backed up and they take a little bit longer than they would have. And the shipping, there's like all kinds of different regulations now that for particularly for bulk shipping that normal people don't know about. Like people that don't ship, pallets full of shit across the ocean. There's a lot more regulation and checking and testing and holding things for a while in each place and quarantining once they come to a port and all this stuff that you didn't used to have to do. So anything that involves bulk shipping is like for record plants and things like that is taking an eternity. So that's a pain in the ass. But that's more of a frustration. It's just knowing that things are taking a long time and that certain deadlines might not be met and that your record might not get to the fucking store in time, or you're gonna have to tell people that, hey guys, everything's taking longer than we thought. Like, you're not, maybe our record won't be in your mailbox on the release day, and like there's nothing we can do about that kind of stuff. So that's frustrating because naturally, as someone who wants everything to be perfect, like I start to fucking have like a panic attack when something's going wrong that isn't under my control. So I've had to kind of just like get over that this year because you can't predict how long any of this stuff is going to take. You get a bunch of records made and they're supposed to show up in 6 to 8 weeks, and then you find out at the 5 week mark that it's going to take another 4 to 5 weeks, and you just got to let go of it and hope that people are understanding of it and that no one's gonna not get it. But yeah, it is what it is, man.
Okay,
Sometimes it
cool.
rains, sometimes it snows, sometimes it's sunny. You just wake up and deal with it.
Sweet. Now, there's been 6 years that have passed between now and Killer Be Killed's debut album, and in the meantime, you've had a lot of stuff going on in your life, including the final Dillinger album, the final Dillinger
Yeah.
tour, large chunk of the Black Queen's existence, and your solo.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you can point to on Reluctant Hero, whether it's a song, a riff, lyric, or whatever, that wouldn't have been possible had you not been through all those steps over the last 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of it. I think every single thing that you do is accumulation of the things that you did. You unlock different tools with every release that you do, with every experience that you have. If you're living artistically, then you never turn it off. Like I don't think of myself as like I'm artistic during this time period and I'm not during another time period. It's like I'm constantly like I wake up and I'm an antenna. Like I feel like I'm an antenna that is absorbing things, and I output when I output. Sometimes I come up with a riff while I'm in the shower. Sometimes I come up with a vocal melody while I'm waiting for an Uber. Like you don't really know why these things are coming to you when they're coming to you, and I feel like everything that you do is, if you're living artistically and you're thinking of yourself as, it's not just an occupation, it's a lifestyle. You're receptive at all times, and every experience that you have, if you have some type of intense experience with someone, or if you go through something intense, then that ends up reflecting back out of you artistically, and then musically. If you make a record, every single time you make a record, you grow. So when, if you're doing it the right way, it's like every time you make a record, you challenge yourself kind of to make something that wouldn't have been possible the last time you made a record. Whether it's you're singing at a level of ability than you could before, or you're playing guitar level of ability that you could before, or you have some kind of insight into the songwriting process that you didn't have before. You unlock something different in yourself that then becomes a tool that you can expand upon on the next release. So I feel like everything is always in accumulation. I mean, a case in point for Reluctant Hero is there's a song on Reluctant Hero called From a Crowded Wound. That is my song from front to back. Wrote that song front to back, like every single part of it, every vocal, every guitar part, everything. And that song was, the original demo of that song was done in 2010, and the music is exactly the same. So the music of the demo from 2010 is structured exactly the same as the fucking version that's on the record now. And I couldn't finish it back then because I just didn't have the tools to get it over the finish line. Like the parts weren't coming to me. Like the parts vocally weren't coming to me. The drum patterns and things that like I needed to be able to conceptualize in my head weren't coming to me. And for whatever reason, when I went back and reapproached it now, 10 years later, like it came right to me. So obviously I accumulated something during that time that gave me ingredients that I didn't have 10 years ago. So, you are always unlocking things, and you're always kind of building upon your own abilities. If you're treating this, as an exploration and as an adventure, and you're excited to challenge yourself and grow, and not just tell yourself that you're the guy that you were yesterday, you're always unlocking things.
Awesome. Now, to a degree, so maybe not perfectly, but you were probably having to juggle between your work on Child Soldier and Reluctant Hero a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that, you were so obviously in Child Soldier, you were doing all the writing yourself, sort of having no one rely on yourself. Whereas in Reluctant Hero, you would have been bouncing ideas off of Max and Troy and stuff, where you bring something in and it becomes something totally different. I imagine those are very different experiences to sort of songwriting. Do you have a preference of one way or the other? Do they sort of scratch different itches that you've got in your brain?
Yeah, they're completely different. Like one's they're completely different creative itches that you scratch, and artistic ones. So it's like when you're in a part of an ensemble cast, it's challenging in a different way, because just to be able to collaborate naturally and without inhibition, and make yourself vulnerable in a collaborative way, and allow yourself to go down roads that weren't your idea, and kind of like be excited to chase different connections that might not have been there without these other people. That's a different skill set than being super controlling and micromanaging and heavy-handed about every single facet of your record. So they're completely different, but they're both validating. Like when I did the solo record, which was done after the Kill to Be Killed record, like Kill to Be Killed record musically was finished in March, April of 2019. And then I immediately started writing the solo record after that. So they weren't overlapping musically. Like we finished the Kill to Be Killed record musically 2019, March, April, and then we had that record fully done instrumentally until February of this year, where we tracked vocals, which is really unnatural. But so during that time, I wrote and recorded the Child Soldier album, and then went back to the Kill to Be Killed album and did the vocals. So they're completely different experiences. Like they can't. And now that I've done both of them, I feel that I see where both of them fit. Like I can't imagine not being in a band. I can't imagine not having real collaborations with people, but I also can't imagine not having my own thing, because they're completely different. Like as soon as I finished the solo record, I understood the value of a band more, and like I understood the place of a band for me more, and what I get out of it, and what excites me about it. And then so now I can't believe that I didn't always have both, because now it's such a full picture, and I feel so actualized that I can't imagine that, like being just in a situation where you're just like a guy in one band or something. That sounds crazy to me.
What is it about Kill or Be Killed that brings you the enjoyment that you get from playing with those guys?
I think it's the thing that's the closest to like a band that I would have had when I was 13 years old. It was really organically formed. Like it's very, it's the same kind of music that I would have probably played when I was like 13. Like it's like a kind of a cross between like it's all sorts of metal. It's all sorts of heavy music because I was really into metal and I was really into grunge and I was really into alternative and I can kind of mash all that together in this band. And it formed really naturally. It wasn't like we just headhunted people and we were like, hey, we're gonna get this guy and that guy and this guy. We're gonna put him in a room. Like it was really natural. It's like Max and I were at a show in LA and we were like, hey, we should write some shit together. And I went over to his house and we played riffs just like we would have if I was a fucking kid. And I went over to my friend's house and then, Troy found his way in and then Ben found his way in and it just became like a really organic band. And to the degree, it feels so much like what I would have done when I was 13 years old that I put a riff in a song on the Kill or Be Killed record from my 13-year-old band just to see if it would sound in place, and it does. Like it doesn't sound out of place at all, and no one would ever be able to tell that one of those riffs I wrote when I was 13. So there's a it feels very pure and very like tied in that way to something that would just form really naturally when you're young. Like obviously Dillinger Escape Plan was like assembled, and over time there's 18,000 different members, and only some people are in the band, and some people are hired guns, and some people people come and go, and it's like it's a completely segregated process for the most part, musically and vocally. It's like one side is Ben's, and one side is mine, and we mash them together, and that's the band. And then Black Queen is like a completely different style of music, so it's not anything to do with what I would have written when I was 13. It's like a style of music that I didn't have keyboards and drum machines and shit when I was 10 years old. I had guitars, so in that way, the Kill or Be Killed is more. It's closely tied to like my 13-year-old self, and I think that's kind of the intersection that we all find within the bands, even though we're different ages. I feel like Kill or Be Killed is like we're all physical different ages, but inside our inner 13-year-olds all have a band together, and that's that band. And like we kind of just, when we show up to hang out with one another, we just bring our 13-year-old selves to the table with with the skill sets that we have now, but with kind of like the enthusiasm and like the love for heavy music that we had then. And for me also, it's like I've never been in a metal band, so I've never been in a heavy. It's like Dillinger Escape Plan had metal parts and we had metal leanings, but we weren't a metal band. I would never describe Dillinger Escape Plan as a metal band, but like fucking Kill or Be Killed definitely falls in that umbrella. So that's kind of cool for me to be in something that's just like, yeah, this is a heavy band and we only use heavy elements, and there's not going to be a synthy pop song, and there's not going to be some glitchy electronic thing. It's like this is a fucking guitar, drum, bass, heavy band, and we're going to stay within those parameters, and there's something really freeing about that too.
That's awesome. Now, switching gears a bit, this is probably a bit of a left field question. I want to talk a little bit about lyrics. So,
Yeah.
with Dillinger on the album One of Us is the Killer, some of the lyrics were about the creative relationship between you and Ben. Just wondering, so what it's like if you're writing lyrics about someone who's in the room there with you. Is that something that caused any tension either during the recording or when you were on stage performing these songs live every night?
Well, I mean, it's not that cut and dry. Like a lot of times when I say the word "you," I'm talking about me. So, like, that's really it gets often misconstrued because a lot of times people think I'm saying the word "you." I'm talking about a third person, but a lot of times I'm saying the word "you" because I don't have like it's a little bit too intense to say the word "I." So, like on a lot of the older Dillinger records, I think the word "you" a lot of times is talking to me. So it's tough from, but when you're, a lot of our relationship at that time was so fused that it was difficult to tell, who was who in that relationship. It was very symbiotic. So a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm very frustrated. If I'm frustrated about something, I don't really know. I'm not isolating who it's about when I'm writing. I just write abstractly, and then I read it back, and I'm like, oh, this is about this, or this is this is what this is what I'm talking about. And a lot of times those songs have a double meaning because you tend to gravitate towards people that mirror you. So a lot of times the thing that you think that you're mad about in someone else, you're actually mad about yourself too. So some of the songs, when I'm saying you, I'm talking to myself and another person. So
Okay.
it's not that cut and dry.
Okay, that leads me into my next question. So on your solo album, there's a song called Evacuation, and there's a line in there that gives a pretty strong hint that it could be about Dillinger. But if you read the lyrics, it easily could be about any relationship. Is that something? So is that something you kind of do on purpose, where I've got set in my mind that this is kind of about this thing, but I want to craft it so that people could interpret it in different ways?
No, I don't care what people think. I really just write what I write, and like I don't think about it, man. Like I really, it's that simple. I don't. When I was writing that song, when I write lyrics, I just write what comes out of me, and then I look at them, I go, huh, that's about that, and then that's it. Like I don't think about the topic before I write, and I don't. I just try to write really automatically, which I try to like write very stream of consciousness and let what comes out of me come out of me, and then I look at it and I like I said, I go, oh, this is about that. But obviously, that song references the Dillinger Escape Plan to some degree. But when people in their life have a tendency to repeat relationships in their life. So if you're prone to developing a certain type of relationship in your life, you're going to find that relationship in multiple instances. So there's a lot of themes in songs where I could be talking about the Dillinger Escape Plan, but I could also be talking about a personal relationship in my life, or I could be talking about a previous relationship in my life, or a tendency within myself, because a lot of times you tend to find those same exact things over and over and over in multiple situations and multiple people. So it's not so topically cut and dry as it is thematic, and a lot of times songs are dealing with multiple subjects and objects within the same song, but that all tie into the same theme, that all tie into the same tendency. But evacuation, I mean, that line, that's a line from Prancer, is obviously a reference to the Dillinger Escape Plan. But let me think about that song's lyrics. There's multiple objects within that song. There's multiple subject matters within that song. And then like there's a line in the song that's like, I never lost this feeling with all I've gone through. And obviously, yeah, that feeling is about the love for doing what I'm doing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying that, like, no matter all the shit that I've been going through in life throughout my whole life, there's nothing that's ever meant more to me than this, than music and creation and art. And, I think that the Dillinger Escape Plan, How Could It All Be thing, is just like a reference to that being a part of that.
When you're on stage, so you talked about you have all these themes and stuff floating around in your head, and some of it's based on actual events, some of it's based on just ideas. When you're on stage, and you're singing, are you reliving the lyrics and the feelings that are behind the lyrics in your head, or is it sort of more a technical muscle memory performance type thing that you find yourself doing?
I mean, first of all, if your voice isn't where you need it to be, that's going to fuck you up. So you need to put yourself in a position where your voice is where you need to be, so you don't have to think about your voice. So you don't, if you feel like if you're 90%, all you're going to feel is that 10% that's missing, and you're going to have to adapt to that and figure out ways to try to hit notes that if your voice is fucked up, you can't really hit them. You got to figure out how to, deal with that. And like, so for me, most of the day is revolves around getting myself to the place vocally where I'm not going to have that happen. So vocally, you want to make sure that like you're in the place where you can not think about that. And then the point for me, as far as a performer, is to just become unconscious. Like, I just feel like I want to be as unconscious as possible. And if I can become purely unconscious, then I can find this real sweet spot between meaning the lyrics and meaning what you're saying and feeling emotionally tied to what you're talking about, but also feeling emotionally tied to the energy of the room, because you're not just fucking in a vacuum. There's people in front of you, and there's a vibe that each room takes, and sometimes the vibe is more electric than other vibes, and sometimes the vibe is more hostile, and sometimes it's more celebratory. So you kind of have to find this weird center of the Venn diagram between making sure your voice is where you need it to be, being able to quickly access your emotions in a way where you can tap right into them and get to the source of where they were for that particular song, and then also being able to feel tied to the room. And that's the sweet spot, and that's really what, for me, I'm aiming for every night. And then you can create some sort of transcendent experience for yourself, and hope that translated to the audience.
After all this COVID craziness stuff finishes, are you, even though there may be a bit of a gap between the release of the Killer Be Killed album and your solo album, are you planning on doing any US and or international touring to support it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was supposed to be on tour all of 2021, kind of bouncing back and forth between, various things. And obviously that's all scrapped, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to do those things. So everything's going to happen. It's just getting pushed forward.
Now, when people do finally get a hold of this album, what is the song that you think is going to resonate most with them, or what's the one that you worked on that was your favorite to put out?
Well, I mean, From a Crowded Wound is the one that means the most to me, because that's, my baby. Like, I could have put that song on my solo record and it would have been the same exact song. I just would have sang Max and Troy's parts instead of them singing them. So I mean, that song is a big is an important song personally for me, like in every way, musically, lyrically, everything. But like the whole record, it's like you can't predict what's going to resonate with people and what's not. You just make what feels good to you and you make what feels honest to you. And then I'm not a big fan of like you drop the bomb and you just keep flying. To me, like I don't look back and see what kind of damage it caused. I don't read fucking comments on the internet. I don't even look at comments on Instagram posts, anything. Like I know what's going to get posted and then it gets posted and I never fucking look at it. I never fucking check anything. I never read YouTube comments. I don't fucking look at fucking anything. And like I have no desire, because who cares? Like you just do what you do. I don't give a fuck. I do what I do, and then I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to do. I'm not going to care what somebody wants from me, what resonated with someone, what didn't resonate for them. You just keep going forward, and you're psyched. That way, you're psyched whenever anyone shows up, and psych them. Like when someone tells you that they have heard all your stuff, and you're like, really? Like it kind of keeps you pure in a way. Like every single show I play, I think no one's going to be there. I'm always like, are people going to come tonight? And then the tour manager is always like, yeah, dude, it's fucking sold out. I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. Like I never know. I keep myself detached from it enough that I don't. It doesn't. I just do what I do, and then if I'm in a band, the band does what it does, and then I just don't look back. I don't look back to see what kind of damage the bomb caused. I just keep going, and I make a new bomb, and then I drop another one, and I just keep fucking going, and and in that way, like I never, to me, everyone's like, you're only as good as the last thing you did, but to me, I'm only as good as the next thing I'm doing. So I don't even think about it. Like I just think about as soon as I'm done something, it's out. It's out. It's not yours anymore. You've released it. It's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to find who it's going to find, and then you just fucking detach from it and move forward.
That's fantastic. So, yep, obviously promoting at the moment your new solo album, Child Soldier, Creator of God, and the upcoming Kill or Be Killed album. Anything else you wanted to give a quick shout out to today before we sign off?
Yeah, anyone who's been listening for a long time, I know it's difficult to get into everything. It's like I try to push people away as hard as they come in. It's like, one of my greatest joys about the new solo record is imagining all the Black Queen people that are going to get that wall of noise that might not, in the second track, that might not have ever heard the Dillinger Escape Plan before. And I just die inside with laughter, knowing that, I really enjoy making it difficult for people. So so the people that are around that do care, I appreciate you. We're all fucking weirdos, or else if you weren't a weirdo, you wouldn't be into what I'm doing, because it's also all over the place and all weird. So I appreciate that, everyone for giving a fuck and for being around, no matter how long you've been around. And hopefully you dig these two records, and yeah, I'll see you on tour at some point when this fucking hellscape comes to an end.
Yeah, here's hoping. Greg, thank you so much for your time here today. Learned heaps about
you, man.
And I'm extremely excited to listen to what you've got coming out soon and in the future.
Yeah, man. Next year there's going to be a lot of shit going down that people can. I'm not slowing down anytime soon, man. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline.